I, 25-year-old female, am getting married to my fiancé Jake, 28-year-old male, in a couple of months. We have been saving up for a while to have our dream wedding, and I was thrilled. I have an older half-sister, Kylie, 43-year-old female, who is a single mom to my only niece, Megan, 14-year-old female. Megan was diagnosed with cancer when she was only 2 years old. My sister moved back in with her dad and my mom after she got the diagnosis. I'm not gonna lie, it was really tough. Megan was in and out of the hospital constantly. My parents and Kylie had to work long hours to keep up with everything, so a lot of her care fell on me. Any leftover time I had was spent working to try and help with the bills. I met Jake when I was 19, so he knows the whole situation. I went to an online university so I could continue to help out at home and work to contribute to the bills. Now I live with Jake, but still visit and help out often. Megan finally began to improve substantially around 2 years ago. She felt so much better, and I was so happy for her. I was finally able to move on and have some more time for myself. I don't want people to recognize the medical issues, so I'll be vague, but we received awful news a few weeks ago. Her cancer has returned, and now it's definitely terminal. She most likely won't survive long enough to make it to next Christmas. For now, we're just trying to focus on showing her how much we all love her. My parents actually brought up canceling my wedding in the wake of this sad news, but Megan was actually the one to say she didn't want that. We've already booked the caterers, entertainment, and everything, so she said she just wants all of us to have a nice time. Then a few days ago, an argument broke out. My parents and sister texted me to bring Jake so we could all chat in private. When we showed up, they seemed sad, but said they had a beautiful idea they knew we would love. When Megan initially improved, one thing she seemed happiest about was that she would live long enough to meet someone and have a beautiful wedding. She even helped me pick out my wedding dress and tried on a couple for fun. Kylie teared up and said Megan had cried before about how she would never experience a wedding like mine. She and my parents wanted to give her that special memory. They had this whole plan about how to partially repurpose my wedding. They said they planned to take Megan to a fancy bridal shop and get her a beautiful wedding gown to be perfectly fitted. After I do my walk down the aisle, they could have Jake and I step to the side for a couple of minutes. Megan will do a walk down the aisle as well with a pretty spotlight and her favorite song being played by the violinists we hired. They could do a bit of editing with the guest list and invite her best friends to attend as well. They even could get matching gowns and walk behind Megan as bridesmaids. They planned to have her friends and Kylie give a couple of speeches about how much they loved her. Megan would walk around for a bit to show off the dress, and the violins would play a couple more of her favorite songs. After she's done, Jake and I will step back up to have our ceremony and vows. Later, during the reception, she could have a special table next to Jake and me. They would give guests the chance to give her some flowers and gifts as well, and it would be a wonderful memory for her. They asked what Jake and I thought and looked so proud. I won't lie, I got mad. Jake got frustrated too, but let me speak. Instead of focusing their efforts on arranging something new for Megan to enjoy, they're just taking my day that I've worked so hard to put together. They all said not to be selfish. Jake and I had spent a lot of time and money, but Megan didn't have enough time for them to do something like this for her. Jake and I have the rest of our lives together. Megan won't even make it long enough to become an adult. Kylie began to sob and begged me to please let her do this. She would make it up to me and would even do everything she can to finance a redo wedding for me after Megan passes. I tried to deflect and say I would put as much of my own money as they wanted towards something else for Megan, but she just cried harder and said it's not the same. This is the closest Megan will ever get to a wedding. They don't have enough time and immediate funds available to do anything like this. My parents told us to leave and started to comfort her. They sent a text saying now they have to try and scrounge up something for Megan, so they'd probably be too busy to be at the wedding. Megan usually texts me every day, but she hasn't sent any or replied to mine ever since. I don't know if she knows anything, and she won't answer my calls. Now, I've had some time to cool down and I can't even sleep. This wedding has been my dream, but doesn't my love for Megan matter more than any event? She's been so important for so long, it doesn't even feel real that I'll lose her soon. Jake has said it is true we could save up for another wedding later. He's saying he wants to just let them do their plan so there isn't family drama during Megan's final months. I feel so selfish for even thinking this, but I've spent so much of my life dedicated to her care that this event, only for my own life, felt very important to me. Now things have changed, of course. At first I felt confident in my thought of not wanting Megan to get my wedding, but now I feel dumb and childish for thinking like that. Sometimes I can't even breathe while thinking of just how permanent and eternal death truly is. It unnerves me this much. I can only imagine what Megan's feeling. I will have to say my final goodbyes and literally never see her again soon. I'll never see her graduate, go to prom, become an adult, or anything else. Everything else in my life just feels silly and pointless compared to her struggle. I know it would make her incredibly happy, and I could always just save up to have another event later on. I'm still a bit upset at my parents and sister for just lounging on me, but I'm regretting not just letting Megan have something this special. She really is a great kid who deserves it. Am I the idiot? TLDR, my niece has terminal cancer. She's sad she'll never experience her own wedding. My family said they want to have her wear a wedding dress and have a huge part of my wedding be about her. I initially got upset and said no. I'm now thinking that was selfish and cruel of me since my niece doesn't have that long left to live, unlike my fiancé and I. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Megan is 14 years old. She doesn't need a pretend wedding. Yes, it's sad that she is dying, but many people never have weddings. Who's to say if she hadn't been sick, she would have met someone and gotten married? If you want to share your day with Megan, that would be a very kind thing to do since you have already paid for the venue. However, don't share the actual wedding vows. Could she have a pretty dress and be a junior bridesmaid so she gets to walk down the aisle? I don't see why on earth you would invite a bunch of teenagers who are her friends to your wedding. Who is going to pay for the food they would eat? You are not the jerk, NTA, but your parents and sister are not thinking clearly at all. This is so sad that you continue to be the glass child. Comment 2. Stop second-guessing yourself. Your wedding day is absolutely the one day you do get to be somewhat selfish because it is your day. You obviously love Megan, and that is why you are so conflicted. But I can't help but think how selfish your family is to try and destroy your dream wedding when there are other options for some type of party, so Megan can feel special. To be honest, if your parents don't come, I think that would be it for me with them. You matter. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. It's been a whirlwind week, and I've got quite the update for you all. After the blowout with my family, Jake and I spent a lot of time talking. We both agreed that Megan's happiness was important, but we also felt steamrolled. It was our wedding, our day that we had been planning and saving for. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Then, 2 days ago, Megan finally texted me. She didn't know the full extent of the plan, but she knew there was a fight. She asked if I was mad at her. My heart broke. I called her immediately, and we talked for hours. She told me about her fears, her dreams, and how much she loved the idea of a wedding, but she also said she didn't want to take away from my day. Megan's maturity in that moment was beyond her years. I realized then that this wasn't just about a wedding. It was about family, love, and making memories that would outlast all of us. So I made a decision. I called Kylie and my parents and told them we'd go ahead with their plan, but with some boundaries. It was going to be a day to celebrate love in all its forms, not just mine and Jake's. The past few days have been a blur of activity. We went to the bridal shop with Megan, and seeing her light up as she tried on dresses was a moment I'll never forget. She looked like an angel, and I couldn't help but tear up. We found the perfect gown, one that made her feel like a princess, and the shop even donated it when they heard her story. The wedding day arrived faster than I thought it would. The ceremony was beautiful, and when it was time for Megan's moment, the entire room was in tears. She walked down the aisle with such grace and courage, her friends trailing behind her like a scene from a fairy tale. The speeches were heartfelt, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house. But then, the unexpected happened. During the reception, Megan pulled me aside. She handed me a small box. Inside was a locket with a photo of us from when she was little. She told me that she wanted me to have something to remember her by, something that wasn't tinged with sadness. I hugged her so tight, afraid to let go. The rest of the night was a blur of dancing, laughter, and tears. Megan had her special table, and the guests showered her with love and gifts. It was a bittersweet symphony of joy and sorrow. As the night wound down, Jake and I had our last dance. We were both emotionally exhausted, but there was a sense of peace between us. We knew we had done the right thing, even if it meant sacrificing a part of our day. Now, as I sit here writing this update, I can't help but feel a mix of emotions. I'm married to the love of my life, but I'm also preparing to say goodbye to someone who has been a huge part of my world. Megan is resting now, the excitement of the day having taken its toll on her. I'm still a bit upset at how things went down, how my family assumed we'd just go along with their plan. But when I see the smile on Megan's face in the photos, I know it was worth it. She got to live her dream, even if just for a moment, and that's something I'll cherish forever. My sister gave me the silent treatment over our baby news, but when we talked, she broke down, and now we're teaming up for our kids' futures. Fake names for privacy reasons. Made an account for this via my fiance's little sister who suggested it. Context. I, female, 22 years old, and my fiancé, male, 23 years old, Clay, have a daughter named Sienna who is 2 years old and has a heart condition due to her being considered a micropreemie, born at 26.5 weeks. My sister, female, 26 years old, and brother-in-law, male, 28 years old, have 3 kids. Tessa, female, 6 years old, Anna, female, 20 months old, and Tim, male, 1 month old. My brother, male, 32 years old, and his wife, sister-in-law, female, 30 years old, have a son named Liam who is 7 years old. Clay and I recently got engaged. We haven't been actively trying for another baby, but we haven't been using protection. Basically, we agreed that if we got pregnant with another baby, we would be excited. If we didn't, it wouldn't be disappointing. We found out a month after we got engaged, in October, that we were expecting in November. Sienna was also recently diagnosed with ASD, autism spectrum disorder. We decided to wait until we knew for sure that I was pregnant. We found out at the most recent scan that we were expecting twins. Twins run in both of our families, so we knew it was a possibility. On to the story. We decided that Christmas was the best time to announce the pregnancy since all of our families would be together. We had a shirt for Sienna that said, Big Sister 2024. We also gave each grandparent, great-grandparent a gift with a baby item. Each set got 2 of the same item. We announced to Clay's family first since we had Christmas with them the weekend before Christmas. His family was excited because Clay is the oldest grandchild and the only one with kids. Sienna was the first grandchild on his side. This weekend, I gave my 2 nieces a shirt that said Big Cousin and Tim a onesie that said the same. Everyone got normal gifts too, and we waited until the end to hand out the announcement gifts. My mom and dad also got a shirt with Grandma, Grandpa of 7, changed from 6. I hate conflict and my math sucks. Thank you for letting me know. Sienna had a Christmas sweater over her big sister shirt. I had a sweater over my shirt that said Mama on the chest and Baby A and Baby B on the stomach. Everyone opens their announcement gift, and everyone was happy except my sister, who asked why I announced it at Christmas, especially when I knew she just had a baby. My sister-in-law said she was happy for us and can't wait to meet them. My sister can't have any more biological kids, and they've accepted it. My sister is still upset with me for getting pregnant when she just had a baby and for announcing at his first Christmas. She won't talk to me because I ruined her first boy's first Christmas and didn't ask. Am I the jerk for announcing my pregnancy at Christmas? Edit. First thing, it's a family tradition to be over the top with pregnancy announcements. I chose not to do it with Sienna since I was nervous about their reaction since I was only 19 and I come from a religious family. Second thing, we waited until after the main Christmas celebrations. Breakfast was first, then presents, and a little bit later we did the announcement. We have breakfast since everyone usually spends the night at whoever is hosting's house on Christmas Eve. Third, Anna and Sienna were meant to be born around 3 to 4 weeks apart, but Sienna was a micro-preemie, born at 26.5 weeks. My sister encouraged me to have another baby so Tim would have a cousin around the same age, just like Sienna and Anna. Fourth, we weren't unhappy with my family's reaction. We were surprised that my sister was unhappy since she asked everyone to not make it about her new baby since he wouldn't remember it. She also had a onesie made for Anna's announcement. We told my sister first before asking if she would be okay with it being announced on Christmas to our families, and she agreed it would be the perfect time since everyone would be together. We wouldn't have done it if she didn't approve. Lastly, I apologize if this is all over the place. I have ADHD and I don't like conflict, so my thoughts are all over the place. Final edit. Yes, this is a fake story. However, it has happened to me. Things were exaggerated for the story, such as the gifts. The twins are now 3 years old and Sienna is 5. My sister was heavily stressed with going back to work and having a newborn. I finally figured out how to use the flare thingies, so apologies for that part. Happy holidays, everyone. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. It's Christmas, family time. Why not share the love? There's enough love for everyone. We really need to normalize being happy for others. If you would have made other arrangements and invited everyone to a special brunch to announce the pregnancy, then she would then be angry too because you got pregnant and got attention on the same lunar year as her newborn, or because you are an attention hoe? Probably. You couldn't have won either way. Not the idiot. Comment 2. Is this in the US? I feel like the culture is getting so out of hand. Weddings are now the wedding week month instead of the day. Announcing a pregnancy is taking away the protagonism of someone else. Such BS. I honestly don't understand the mentality at all. To the question, not the idiot, especially since you checked with her first. Also, Christmas is about family. It seems to me to be the perfect occasion to announce a pregnancy. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, back with an update on the whole Christmas pregnancy announcement drama. It's been a busy couple of weeks, but things have taken some unexpected turns. So after the whole blow-up with my sister, things were super tense. I mean, she wouldn't even look at me. Clay and I were worried about how this was going to affect the family dynamic, especially with Sienna and the twins on the way. We didn't want any bad blood or awkward family gatherings in the future. Now, let's rewind a bit. My sister has always been the type to hold a grudge. Remember when we were kids and I accidentally broke her favorite doll? She didn't speak to me for a month, but this time it felt different. It wasn't just about the announcement. It was like all her frustrations were coming out at once. Clay, being the peacemaker he is, suggested we should try to talk to her and her husband. I was hesitant at first because I didn't want to stir the pot even more, but I knew we had to clear the air. We invited them over for dinner, just the 4 of us, to keep things low-key. The tension was thick when they walked in, but we all sat down and started talking. It turns out my sister was feeling overwhelmed with Tim and going back to work. She was worried about not being able to give enough attention to all her kids and felt like our announcement was just another thing to deal with. After a long heart-to-heart, we reached a compromise. We agreed that we'd support each other more. I offered to help with Tim and the girls whenever she needed a break, and in return, she'd try to be more involved with Sienna and the twins. But here's the jaw-dropping moment. My sister admitted that she was actually jealous. She had always wanted a big family, and knowing she couldn't have more kids was hitting her hard. That confession led to some tears and a big group hug. It was a moment I never saw coming. Now, for the new developments. Clay's family has been super supportive, and his mom even started knitting baby booties for the twins. But the real surprise came from my brother. He's always been the quiet type, but he pulled me aside last week and told me he'd set up a college fund for Sienna and the twins. I was floored. He said he wanted to make sure they had every opportunity he didn't have growing up. And speaking of growing up, let's talk about Sienna. She's been making so much progress with her ASD therapy. It's like she's a whole new kid. She's been more communicative and even started playing with Tessa and Anna more. It's been amazing to see her come out of her shell. But wait, there's more. Remember how I said twins run in our families? Well, during our latest scan, the doctor found something we weren't expecting. It's not just twins, it's triplets. Clay nearly fainted when we found out. We went from a family of 3 to a soon-to-be family of 6 in the blink of an eye. We haven't told the rest of the family about the triplets yet. We're planning a small get-together next weekend to break the news. I'm not sure how everyone will react, but after everything that's happened, I think we can handle it. So, that's where we're at. It's been a ride of emotions, but I feel like we're finally moving in the right direction. Family is everything to us, and I'm just grateful we're all working through this together. My lifelong friend betrays me when my brother dies, but her ex-husband reveals her lies and I cut her off. Freedom never felt so good. I've literally known her since the day I was born. She is 3 weeks older than me and was failing to thrive until our moms put us in the same crib. Suddenly, with me in the crib with her, she turned a corner and started to thrive. She's been using me ever since. Growing up and into adulthood, everyone always warned me that I was her friend, but she wasn't mine. I could call her when I needed something, and she either couldn't be there for me because she always had something more dramatic happening in her life, or I couldn't get a hold of her at all. I finally had enough when my brother died in a tragic accident. It destroyed me. She had 30 seconds for me and said she would call me back. She never did. She was going through a very difficult divorce. And her husband is also a good friend of mine that I've known since they first started dating when we were 17. He had both of his brothers die tragically and reached out to me immediately and was a great comfort to me. I had been there for her through all the drama of her divorce. Her husband would say things as if I already knew about them, like, "It's my fault for marrying a woman who not only stabbed me once, but twice." I was shocked. He had police reports. We started talking about the physical abuse he endured over 30 years. Also, I knew that her mom absolutely had Munchausen syndrome. After talking to him about their son's ongoing medical problems, I realized that it fit the same pattern as her mom. Her and their oldest son had the same illnesses. We lived with so much distance between us that I never caught on before. She had told me about punching her husband on one occasion, but her husband said it occurred frequently. She had told me about one affair she had that resulted in her getting pregnant and having a baby on a living, but it turns out there were at least a dozen affairs. Her husband had emails between them to prove it. All the while, she had been telling me that he was the chronic cheater and aggressor, and she was afraid for her life. I believed her and had sent her a very expensive security system at some point. She had been actively trying to get him fired from the police force and destroy his 30-year career in the Navy Reserves, where he had been on more than 20 active duty deployments. She registered with her state as a domestic abuse victim despite never having accused him prior to filing for a divorce, never having called the police, and having hundreds of emails where she was apologizing for physically harassing him and the kids. Additionally, during our friendship, we had a 10-year fallout. During that time, her husband was on many deployments. He never knew we had a fallout. She would lie to him and tell him I didn't show up for the party or other event because my car broke down, or I had an emergency, or I had to work, etc. Once me and her husband started opening up to each other more and trusting the situation, he told me that she was always insanely jealous of me and would talk bad about me every chance she got. And he thinks that she purposefully created a fallout and lied about it to keep me away from him because she was always isolating him from everyone. And again, she was insanely jealous of me. Whenever I would have a promotion at work or any kind of success, she would tell him I probably whored my way to the top, etc. Obviously not my friend. So why would I even question, am I the idiot? Because there are people who are questioning whether I should end a 50-year friendship over the word of an ex-husband. Some feel I'm violating the sister code by trusting him. In reality, I should have ended the friendship long before, as she really never was a good friend. She was one in a very long line of narcissistic relationships I had to break free from. Second, her husband has been a better friend to me than she ever was, even before my brother died. I'm not romantically interested in her now ex-husband. He's just a good friend, and we live 3,000 miles away from each other. Still, am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the jerk. She's clearly not the person you thought she was and is a bad friend to you. He's a better person and supported you in your time of grief. Police reports are public records, so it's hardly just his word. Tell anyone who's telling you that you are wrong to stuff their opinion where the sun doesn't shine. You didn't ask them to weigh in. Well, okay, you did ask the people here, so that doesn't apply to Redditors. Comment 2, not the jerk. I ended a 30-year toxic friendship 5 years ago, nowhere near anywhere as bad as yours. So from experience, let me tell you, it is such a relief, liberating, peaceful. Get over the guilt. You don't need to feel it and enjoy breathing freely. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a chaotic couple of weeks, and I've got some updates that I think you'll find pretty interesting. First off, let me tell you, the drama hasn't stopped. After I shared my story, things escalated quickly. My former best friend, let's call her Jane, somehow got wind of me talking to her ex-husband, Mark. She blew up my phone with messages, accusing me of betrayal and siding with him. I didn't respond. I was done being dragged into her chaos. But Mark, he's been a rock. He's been checking in on me, making sure I'm holding up okay after my brother's passing. It's more than Jane ever did. We've been reminiscing about the old days before things got so twisted. He reminded me of the time we all went camping as kids, and I saved Jane from falling into the lake. It's funny how she needed me even back then. Now, here's where it gets really crazy. Jane's son, the one with the medical problems, reached out to me. He's in college now and starting to see the patterns of his mom's behavior. He told me he's been healthy for years, but Jane kept insisting he was sick. He's been going to therapy and is beginning to understand the extent of her lies. He thanked me for always being kind to him, even when Jane kept us apart. I've been thinking a lot about the past, about how Jane always had to one-up me. Like when I got my first job, she suddenly landed this amazing position, which I later found out was all thanks to her dad's connections. Or when I adopted my dog and she went out and got a purebred puppy the next week. It was always a competition with her. But back to the present, Mark told me something that made my jaw drop. He's been going through old photos and found one from our high school graduation. On the back, Jane had written a note saying she was going to marry him and make sure I was never in the picture. It was her plan all along to isolate him from me, from everyone. It's chilling to think about. And remember the expensive security system I sent her? Well, Mark found it, still in the box in their attic. She never even installed it. All those stories about fearing for her life were just that, stories. It's clear now that she was the one spinning tales, not him. Mark's been doing some healing of his own. He's been volunteering with a group that supports men who've been victims of domestic abuse. He's using his experience to help others, which is so like him. He's always been the kind of guy to turn something terrible into a chance to do good. As for me, I've been focusing on my own life. I got a promotion at work, and this time, there's no one to tarnish my achievement. My colleagues threw me a little celebration, and it felt good to be recognized for my hard work. It's a stark contrast to the way Jane would have reacted. The other day, I was going through some old boxes and found a bunch of letters Jane had written to me over the years. They were all full of excuses for why she couldn't be there for me. I realized that even when we were kids, she was always taking more than she gave. It's sad, really. But here's the kicker. Jane's been trying to reach out to our old friends, spinning a new tale about how I've turned against her. But it's not working. They've seen through her lies. They've been reaching out to me, offering their support. It's like the scales have fallen from their eyes. And Mark, he's been a true friend through all of this. We've been supporting each other, sharing our stories, and finding comfort in the fact that we're not alone. It's a friendship that's been tested by fire, but it's come out stronger. So, to those who questioned if I was the one in the wrong, I can say with certainty that I'm not. I've found peace in my decision to walk away from Jane. It's been freeing, like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.